Hi. Yeah, don't ask, don't rewind. Welcome to Ultimate Sports Network's Real Boxing Talk. We'll be talking about real boxing, talking about boxing. As always, we have John and Charles and myself, head coach, head Big Mouth. We'll figure out what's going on in my brain in a minute. Let's get into some boxing talk. Coming up, we don't really have a lot coming up in the next couple of weeks, but the big one we have looking at right now, Jojo Diaz and Fortuna, if I have that right, coming up in, John's going to give us a little more background on that because he's actually going to be at the fight.
Yeah, that fight really has me intrigued because Fortuna is 36-2. You know, I mean, the guy, he lost to Robert Easter, I believe, and one other fight that escapes me right now. And Diaz lost once to Gary Russell Jr. Obviously no disgrace there, and he was competitive. Nobody thought he won, but he was competitive. So the fact that Jojo has taken this fight after losing his title on the scales, having all kinds of issues in his life, maybe explain why he's pretty much the underdog going into this. But not just that. He probably would be even if he didn't have all these outside things going on in his life. Fortuna is really a good fighter. He's a southpaw. He's fast. He's got some pop. So yeah, I've been following Jojo Diaz most of his career, Frank, and have seen him fight live numerous times. And I've always been impressed with him. We had him on the Ringside Boxing Show, and one of the greatest stories he ever told us was he wanted to be the shortstop for the LA Dodgers. And the major problem that happened was he was too short. When he was about 13, he was only 5'3", and he didn't get much taller. He's only 5'6" now, so he just was too small, even though he was pretty good. And then his dad became a trainer basically by doing what Mr. Farmer would do there, is he studied and researched and watched and took everything in, and then took on his son. I'd say it's worked out. So yeah, they're a really cool family. I interviewed him live after his fight in Oakland, and he's just a super nice kid. He's had some issues, so I know him a little bit more. But this fight with Fortuna, this is huge, Frank, because he's talking about fighting Haney next if he wins.
Right.
He wants to fight all the guys. There's just Jojo Diaz. He's not. I don't want to. He doesn't say leave out names. He's talking about fighting Tank. He's talking about fighting Teofimo. He's not. He doesn't want to waste any time. He wants all the big boys. So he's a real fighter, in other words, and so is Fortuna. So that one is really, really interesting. And then we got, Gilberto Ramirez and Sullivan Barrera. Our friend Zoot feels that Barrera's got a real good shot at beating Ramirez. He's 39 years old now, but he has a shot because Ramirez is wide open to be hit. He's young, 9 years younger and stronger and all those things. So I'm expecting Ramirez to win. But they've got a lot of fights, Frank. They start tomorrow at 12:15 for free on YouTube, I believe. And I'm not going to be there by 12:15. But it's all day. And then the main events, the two mains, Ramirez and Barrera and Jojo Diaz and Fortuna, those are damn good fights.
Well, Charles, as we're looking at this fight and how it plays into the landscape, which we always seem to do, these are two more dudes that could do some damage in that weight area. I hesitate to call it weight classes. I think there's more than just one class in that. But we tend to focus on the guys with the belts. And as we've said a number of times, the belts really don't matter a lot other than its way of keeping score. Are these two more guys that we should really be considering with the Haneys and these guys? They should be part of the mix, or is it this is a make or break for either one of them?
Wow.
Or both.
I think it's make or break for probably Fortuna. I think Jojo Diaz has that pop still, as John mentioned. He has the opportunity to really kind of show what he does. And when you guys mentioned he was too short, then what the hell we say about Freddie Patek? That's for those that are paying attention. Anyway.
Ding.
Yeah, you got who really was.
I was going to go Pat Fisher, but that's okay.
Right, but who really was a hell of a shortstop. But anyway, the Kansas City Royals. But no, I mean, I think there's opportunity for them. But the more you just can't have more setbacks, right? So if you win, the winner is going to get an opportunity. Let's be real about that, okay?
Right.
You start looking at the Haneys and other guys like that too. The winner of this fight is going to kind of say, okay, I'll beat this guy, I'll beat Fortuna, or I'll beat Diaz. I deserve another shot because somebody else is trying to climb the ladder. The beautiful thing about this, or these divisions, we talk about 130, 135, 140, they're kind of all intertwined. So everybody can't be the champion. So with that being said, there are some guys that are right below the champions that have to kind of make their way through. So in order to really get that next shot, you can sit and keep waiting with your hands, crossed and things of that nature, or you can really start to go after some people that will give you another quality win. And when it's your time, then you go. And I think this is the case right here between these two guys. I mean, you mentioned about Fortuna, you mentioned about the losses. Neither one of the losses, Fortuna's major loss and then also Jojo Diaz's major loss there's nothing just to sneeze at. They fought against quality guys who have earned the right to kind of be on that upper tier, that upper level. But now it's like, okay, if you're not in the second level or second tier or the third, if you're in the third tier, you got to find a way to get back up. So I wouldn't say this is their last hurrah for either one of these guys, but it's like you don't want to, if you're at 6, you're trying to get to 7 and 8, you want to drop down to 5.5, if that makes sense to you. So a win, propels you up, going up. A loss kind of puts you right there. So the question is, when do you stop the bleeding, man? And for both of these guys, it's like, okay, yeah, it's not that bad, but it's like when we stop the bleeding, because sooner or later, I need to stop bleeding and get healed and keep moving up further. So I think that's where they're at right now.
Crank out the Neosporin. It's time to get it done, right?
Yeah.
Now, John, here's my... Oh, I hated that stuff. All right. Now, here's the thought that it just, from what you both said, comes to mind. We're living in a boxing world where there are 2 boxing worlds. When you're looking at from 147 up, it seems that it's more of, I'll fight who I need to fight if I need to fight them because that's the fight that I have to fight. And I put as many qualifiers in there as I possibly could. From the 130 to the 147s, it's like, how much you weigh? I'll fight you. If you win this fight, okay, fine. You fought Easter, you fought this guy, you fought that guy. They just seem to go out and make fights. It doesn't seem to me that there's any of this, well, if someone says, I want Josh Taylor, and Josh Taylor's going to go, well, you haven't, he'll fight him. Diaz and Hayden, these guys all look like they're going to go after each other. Looking at that rider is a little less cut and dry than that.
Yeah, and I like that. And by the way, I have to put this in because you guys know I'm no fan of the WBA. Well, the WBC, which is incredibly historic, and it pains me that they seem to want to throw a belt at everyone who enters an arena. They are making this fight just real fast, Frank, Diaz and Fortuna, a interim lightweight title fight. And as the big cheese at Max Boxing, I have decided that we're not going to mention interims or semifinals or any more bullshit like that when it comes to these title fights. I am going to tell anyone who writes these, or I'm going to pull out my editing knife and put eliminator or something like that, like they used to say back in the day. Right. You got it, Charles. So I'm going to cut if somebody puts, he's a new champion. No. He's rank 1 or 2 or whatever, but that crap is yeah, exactly. That crap is that's what I'm going to do. I've decided, and there was another person who wrote an article that I saw that said the same thing. Another website said, that's it. They're not, thank you very much, Charles. I'm going to cut, and it's not going to be there. Or if it hits the headline, it'll say interim, but I don't even want to see that freaking word anymore. That's done. So to me, they mess it up. I don't know why. Well, we know why. We've discussed it. They think that it brings the importance of the fight up by adding this belt. And to me, it just diminishes everyone else who really is the real champions. But yeah, you know what? Back to what you said, Frank. Yeah, really the strength of boxing right now is 130 to 147, and 154 too with Charlo. And I this is totally off. I'm totally digressing, but I can't help it. As you were talking, I thought, has anybody seen Terrence Crawford? Where is he? It's like AWOL here, and well, yeah, what has happened? So we've got so much talent in those divisions, and we can't take this for granted, guys. You know, because they're so good. There's so many good fighters. Lopez supposedly is going to fight Lomo again at the end of the year. Oh boy! And then he's going to move up to 140. So then you got Lopez and Taylor.
Right. Right.
You know, and so we've got all this talent, and then you got back down to 130. You got Shakur and Oscar Valdez, and I mean, it's great. If you're a boxing fan, problem is that a lot of people don't know about this because these littler guys don't get the attention like the bigger guys. But you know, back to what Charles says. This is it, Frank. You know, it would really be cool if they had one of those tournaments.
Mm-hmm.
You know, had a lightweight tournament.
Or I've got a better idea. Let's have a catchweight tournament. We can get 16 guys into that.
But let's do. It's not enough belts for that. Not enough belts. Nobody gonna lose.
I don't care about belts.
You going old
We're the
school.
new AFL.
You going old school. You going old
Yeah.
school. You try to get them guys to fight like it's about the cash now, brother. They want money, even if it doesn't. And John said, even doesn't mean anything. If I can fight for a belt and actually get some money for it and get some so-called fake publicity and certain prestige, that's what it's about now.
Yeah, and real fast,
Right.
Frank, you know, every boxer I've ever talked to, they say this, if you ask them about belts, you say, well, they say, yeah, but hey, I'll take one. If it's offered, you know, they love the belts. And I could understand. I'd love to have those suckers up on my wall. I mean, that's a great, even if it's not the championship one. Back in the old dinosaur days, they had the North American world champion back in the 70s. And I remember my main man, Armando Muniz, won that. I was so thrilled that he won the title, you know, and Randy Shields also won a title, but Randy's so real that when I mentioned that to him, I go, well, you won a lesser title. He goes, yeah, exactly, lesser, John. I didn't win the world title. That's Randy. But most guys are like, I'll take this. Actually, especially in those days, they didn't hand them out the minute you competed. So, a tournament, I wish that we could just figure out a way that these guys would get more of the big light on them. But historically in boxing, it's pretty much always about the bigger weights, the heavier weights.
Well, it seems to me that we're about ready to enter the realm of Tully Blanchard and the Intercontinental Champion of the TV champion belt. You know, we talked about that last week. Yeah, we're not even getting to what actually is happening. So, all right. Yeah. Woo! Now, I have another question that I'm not sure if there is an answer for this. The return of Nonito Donaire was impressive. But now he's standing on the moral high ground, according to him, which, hey, that's cool. Someone disrespected his wife. I have no problem with that. But how does this put into play what happened between him, Casimiros, Rigondeaux, the Monster? There's so many little different things that happen here. Again, now we're looking at Rigondeaux stepping in for him to fight this fight. Does the winner of that get Inoue, or does Donaire say, or does Inoue say, hey, rematch, we'll ignore that, let's go? How does that play out, Charles? What do you think? Because there's a lot of different little scenarios in there.
Yeah, well, you know, Donaire is on top of the world right now. Donaire is the dude. Right. Let's be real. So I think it's like why you say, well, you know, Rigondeaux would be like he's going to get an opportunity because he's stepping in. But I think Donaire is going to tread a little bit more lightly than what he's saying. He's trying to act like I'll fight anybody. But it took him a little minute to get here, right? Because you fight the Monster and you're like, oh my God. We didn't come back, right? Did he know if he still had it in him? And he shows you, yeah, I got it. I still got it. But to just kind of jump out there and say, okay, now I'm going to fight another guy because you guys say it is, I think he's going to be more calculated, a la Pacquiao, because it's like, I'll prove to you I can do it, but I don't know how many more bullets I got in the chamber. So in order to make sure that I'm okay, I'm going to sit back and watch and let the other guys kind of work amongst each other. And then if I do fight one of them who finally makes it up, right, then I'm going to get the most money possible. So if it is my swan song, a la what Triple G I think he's trying to do, but I'm trying to get my swan song, and I'm going to go out with a boatload of cash and no harm, no foul. I think that's what it is. And if he does it any differently, just my little humble opinion, he's doing it the wrong way. It took him too long. The fight he won recently, Donaire, that is, was impressive as hell. But you have to ask yourself, do you have it in you again? And we don't know. Or was it just okay? And if that's the case, you got to get your money, man. Because,
well,
and I let John, I asked John and you too as well, but was there a point after Donaire lost, that the last time he lost, like he was like, I don't know if I still got this. I don't know if it's still in me. I don't know if I still can fight at that level.
And this is a guy, John, that I'm normally going to take at his word, because what he said was what he said. And that seems like, okay, that's why I'm doing this. But is there a part of that he's saying, if I want the monster, I don't want to have this fight before? Is there a little bit of part of that? Or is it, okay, you insulted my wife, you did this and you did that, I'm not going to have the fight for that particular reason? Or is there a little bit of that, I don't need this fight as well because I can get in a way without having this fight?
You know, that might have been the smart route to go, but see, Donaire is like a lot of fighters. He's on another planet in some ways. We say, look, you're 38, you've been in a lot of wars. He goes, I don't care. I don't feel 38. I don't fight like I'm 38. I feel like I'm 28. Mm-hmm. I'll fight this fellow Filipino Casimero. I think he wanted to fight him, but he did what he did, and then they had issues with VADA. And Donaire has been a big proponent, as we know, about drug testing, and Casimero was bitching about that, from what I understand. And Donaire, as we know, is a total sportsman and gentleman, and he said, "Forget it." Now, it might turn out to be a good thing as far as his career goes, because Casimero is an animal, as we know. If you've seen that guy fight, I mean, he is tough. He's a mean guy in there and everything. But it's hard to say because, you look at Donaire honestly. I mean, obviously what he did a few months ago was fabulous. He's obviously slowed down. He's not the guy that he was 6 or 7 years ago. Who of us is? But it might be that whoever wins between Rigondeaux and Casimero, he'd fight him, because Rigondeaux beat him a number of years ago. If you guys remember, he had just won the Fighter of the Year from the Boxing Writers of America. They had it at the Radio City Music Hall in New York City, and Rigondeaux just probably won 10 out of 12 rounds with ease. So who knows? Maybe he's thinking, well, if Rigondeaux does this with Casimero, I'll fight him again because I want my revenge. Or he might be thinking, I'll cash in with one more big shot with the monster. I don't think he's looking forward to that. I mean, you got to remember that he might have did some damage, but he took a lot of damage himself in that fight. So Donaire is just an amazing athlete. He's another one of those guys that kind of like Pacquiao again. 42 years old, fighting next month. Right. He's lasting a lot longer. Little guys don't usually last this long, so it's pretty amazing. But I didn't think he was that calculated, though. Finally answering your question, Frank, I think he was ready to fight this guy. Then he'd fight Inoue. He's confident that he could beat Casimero. Then he would fight Inoue next year, probably, I would imagine. That's out. Where does he go now? Does he have a tune-up fight? Does he wait to see what happens with Rigondeaux and Casimero? Probably. I don't think he's jumping back in the ring with Inoue quite yet. But he might be thinking in the back of his mind, I'm down here in a second, that I'm 38, going to be 39 here in a number of months. I can't keep waiting like Golovkin's doing. Right. Golovkin's not going to fight until he's 50 the way he's going. So, you can't wait forever. So I think he's probably thinking about all this with his wife. They're probably doing pro and cons. Like, well, maybe. So he's in kind of a funny spot right now.
Well, and now Casemiro has agreed to testing with VADA after this was done, but after the cancellation. So there are so many things that we're in the he said, she said kind of moment of who do we believe, who do we take at their word, who's actually telling what they're telling, or more accurately, how is it being reported or is it being reported incorrectly? Which gets me, Charles, to this thought of all of these things that I'm hearing and all these things I'm reading, and a lot of it is just noise and everything about the upcoming Fury Wilder fight. The Fury now weighs, 350, and Wilder has come up with this and that. He's going to come in his, his socks and his trunks, and that's it. Put his boots on when he gets in the ring. And there's so many things that are being spread around. Let's get to the nuts and bolts of this. Okay, we still have some time, but let's get to the nuts and bolts of it. Who is your favorite in this fight if they do what they should do? Fury or Wilder?
I'm gonna say this. First of all, I probably would have to say Fury, because the one thing that concerns me about Wilder is he's changed trainers. I think deep down inside he's been training a lot longer than what we know, because we're talking about a July fight. And we haven't heard from him in a long time,
right.
And then all of a sudden he's here for July. But I would say right now I would say Fury. But the other caveat that I think is important to place in there, I know you guys have probably heard about it, is I guess the COVID is running rampant through Fury's camp. And there's a chance that this could be postponed again until September, which I think does nothing but help Wilder to get more acclimated and more prepared to fight the style that he wants to fight. I think right now I say Fury, because he knows what it is, he's preparing for it, and I think it's a quick fight. I might be wrong about that, but it's a quick fight to me. The longer that Wilder has, the more he has a better opportunity to win. But right now, I'd have to say I would have to go with Fury, because he's done it all with this guy. He almost won the fight where he got knocked down, and then he took him down the next time. Now it's like, what can you do? You're not gonna change. I know that. You know that. You're not gonna change. So I just alter a little bit, weight, get a little bigger, and just beat the hell out of you like a grown man's supposed to.
Okay, well, and I hate to throw the Rocky reference in there, but if Apollo and Rocky had fought the third time, does that mean Rocky would have won? By using that criteria, that's what we're saying. I almost won the first fight. I won the second fight. Then why wouldn't I win the third fight?
Yeah, well, because he knows the secrets, and I get off this real quick.
Right.
I'll jump in there. He knows the secret. The secret to Wilder, apparently, for a lot of times, was he's this big bad monster that if you get close to him, he will knock your head off, a la Tyson. You get close to him, he will kill you. Everybody's scared. Fury says, if I get close enough to you, you can't swing. I can beat you. And I think that's the question that we want to see answered.
And I'll weigh on that part in a second, what I think. But John, normally I don't do this, but same question.
Well, you did mention Rocky, and if you guys saw Creed, the son asked Rocky, well, who won that little get-together you had at the end of Rocky 3? And he said, Apollo. So there you go. So there it is. Oh, yeah, Fury is the favorite. I haven't heard that about COVID running rampant. God, I hope it doesn't get postponed. Have you heard that, Frank?
Matter of fact, yeah. I just heard it yesterday, yeah.
Just heard it yesterday. Okay, I'll have to. Okay, now that's that. I really don't want this fight to get canceled just because what we talk. I really am anxious to see it postponed. But you see, Fury, I think Fury obviously has advantages mentally and physically when it comes to that. It's like anything. I like to do this. Some of the broken down athletes. You know, when you played a guy in a one-on-one and you played him twice and it was close the first time and then you destroyed him the second time, you're coming into the third time, you're confident. I think I got this guy figured out. I know all his tricks. I'm going to beat his butt. I think that's what Fury is doing. Wilder is interesting to me because, you know, he's being ridiculed like crazy online, and a lot of it's his own fault, as we know, with some of his conspiracy scenarios, and we know all that. He's lifting weights and all this. I mean, I thought when I saw that, I went, what are we doing? Because I was trying to look beyond what And I think what this is about, I do a little Dr. Phil psychoanalyzing here. I think the whole trick here that Malik Scott is doing everything is he's trying to make sure Wilder believes deep down in his soul that he can win.
Mhm.
I think peripherally he thinks he can win, but he really wants him to think, look, I'm better now than I was then. I'm stronger than I was then. I'm able to move a little better than I did. All up here, you know, mind, nasty word. He's doing it to him up there, so he's like, okay, I'm going to bring all this into the ring with me this time that I didn't necessarily have the last time, and I'm gonna shock you. And is he? Probably not, but I don't mind what he's doing, where everybody is ridiculing him and all that. I think, hey man, you get in there with a Fury's going to weigh like 295. He said Wilder's built like a basketball forward. You've seen him; he's got really skinny legs and everything. Yeah. And how he's going to stop Fury is, I'm telling you, it's the jab. But he's got a plan, and if he manages, see, I'll say this real fast, Frank. If he can counter Fury, if he can do what he's been doing with Malik Scott, he doesn't look, from what I've seen, he doesn't look all that comfortable because he usually just stands at one spot and lines that right hand up. He's trying to sidestep. If he can do that, he might shock him. You know, he might club him right, you know, with one of those shots and really catch him off guard. So I like the thinking. Malik Scott's a very intelligent guy. Talked to him numerous times over the years. So Fury's definitely the favorite for the reasons I mentioned, but I wouldn't totally count Wilder out. I know I'm going to get ridiculed now, but I don't really care. I wouldn't totally count him out. I think he's a really determined dude, and I love it when people get really determined because it doesn't always work out, but sometimes it does. So you better watch out.
Well, there are a couple things that come to mind here. One is Michael Jordan, and the other is anybody else other than Michael Jordan. So the Michael Jordan thing was, I'm going to find a reason why everyone thinks that I can't win, whether it's some kind of conspiracy theory, someone disrespecting me from this. I'm going to come up with something to add fuel to the fire, which maybe is what Wilder is doing. But when anyone else other than Michael Jordan did that, it was, now I'm finding reasons, and now I don't really believe. Now I got to come up with other crap. You know, well, you know, the Fury did this, and now he's, well, what's he going to do now? How is he going to cheat now without loading gloves? And oh, we caught you loading gloves. What are we going to do about that? What are you going to do this time? Instead of, in my opinion, focusing on Wilder and what he's going to do and his strategy of what he's going to do, because I think we're all going to say, and I don't mean to speak for you guys, but if he fights the same fight that he fought last time, there will be the same result. He's going to have to come up with something different. He's going to have to come up with some new strategy or some new nuance that we haven't seen before. And I think the big question is, what he comes up with new, does Fury already have a built-in counter for that? Because I think if we put it out there, we would say that Fury, and here's the word, is the craftier fighter.
Oh yeah.
To find more things to do, and if you do something to him he hasn't seen before, doesn't mean he doesn't have an answer for it. Whereas Wilder, as we said, and I don't know if I buy the one-trick pony concept, but that's the way he's fought. If we've watched all of his fights, it's pretty much been the same thing. And as we've said before, that's resulted in one loss. So, you know, as Charles has said, if it ain't broke, don't break it. But now is it broke? That, I think, is going to be the testament of whether what I do and have done for all these fights and have lost one fight is enough to overcome what you did and beat me in one fight. I think that's what's going to come down to. And I think that what we're all saying is that Fury's one win trumps Wilder's 37 wins and one draw, or whatever it is. That and I don't know if that's in Wilder's mind, if that sits well with him. Because
Oh yeah, you know, real fast, Frank. I think Wilder is an angry guy, and you can understand why. I try to give him more respect, just because people like to act like it's so easy, even if the
Right.
talent you're knocking out isn't very talented. But you're knocking everybody out. That takes something. You knocked out Luis Ortiz twice.
Mhm.
A guy that most people, as Charles always says, doesn't want to fight. You don't poo-poo that. You can. But to me, that's not fair on Wilder. I mean, that first fight, he was in a world of hurt, and he came back and won that fight. So you got to give the guy credit for that. He's just limited. That's the thing. And Fury has more game. And there's only one Michael Jordan. See, that's the thing. And Michael Jordan motivated himself like that. And you might think like Michael, but you won't be able to do it like Michael.
Mhm.
So there's that part too. But yeah, he's got this is a toughie for Wilder, unless he just does what he's always done, and he just, man, if he can catch Fury with one of those bombs,
Mhm.
that's Fury knows this. Fury knows this. So as he showed in the first fight, he totally neutralized them. So I'm sorry I jumped in, Charles. So
No,
go ahead, the
you're
floor is
fine.
yours.
No, you're fine. I think, I mean, it doesn't matter about the order, as long as we get it right. But, I think looking at that situation with Frank mentioned that I'm not so sure if the one fight just kind of makes all of eliminates the wins, the other wins that the Wilder had. And the reason why I said that is because of the fact that, as you mentioned, he had to find the ability to do that and knock folks out. But at the same time, instead of saying that the fights weren't
Frank,
or he just started messing around and he just got close to 40 wins and now he's a one-trick pony and Fury found him out, right? Maybe it is the factor that Fury is Wilder's kryptonite. He fought this guy. Yeah. This guy is crafty. We talk about that all the time. He's smart. He knows how to work this style against him. He's figured him out. But you put Wilder in with someone else, those other folks can't do what Fury does. And I think they don't give Fury enough credit for what he did against Wilder. Because I firmly believe still, despite what we've seen and the way we saw Wilder react, that Wilder's still legit. He's just fighting the guy that has his number. There's sometimes people like that. I mean, and I hate to throw the comparison because there's nowhere near the comparison, but I'm going to go off center. But do we ever say that Joe Frazier wasn't a great fighter, even though George Foreman destroyed him? But that never took away for the greatness of Joe Frazier.
Right.
And I think this is that very similar scenario. Sometimes people they get you. It's like when you look at, and I don't want to throw TBE out there, but Floyd had a way of making great fighters look average. De La Hoya, definitely Canelo, but that doesn't mean they weren't great fighters. I think this is Wilder's situation. He's got to find a way to defeat this man that is causing him a lot of issues because the guy's more crafty. Doesn't take away from his overall career. Because I'm telling you right now, you put him in with Dillian White and some other dudes, I think Wilder will knock the hell out of him still.
Well, okay, so this begs the question, and I'm going to ask the same question to both of you. So, because apparently my show notes mean nothing, Charles.
I don't have a script, Frank. So whatever, you didn't send me the script. So, see, you guys, you're not nice.
The Pony Express wasn't working, so.
Jeez, that's a conspiracy.
Let's okay.
I only got one sheet, John.
Let's channel ourselves.
Frank's in control. Frank's in control. Okay.
Let's channel ourselves into another body. Let's say that right now you're 25 years old, 27 years old. You're 6'5", 250. Who are you more concerned with? A, in winning or losing the fight, and B, actually receiving damage in the fight. Because we say this about boxing all the time. No one's afraid of anybody, but there are fighters that do terrify you. I think if you got in the ring with like a Julian Jackson, like, this guy's going to hurt me. he's not just going to beat me, he's going to hurt me. So let's start with A. If I'm of the same size and the same skill level or whatever as the other top 20 fighters in the heavyweight division, who do I fear losing the fight to? Fury or Wilder, John?
Who do you fear? If you're Fury or Wilder, who do you fear losing? Do you fear losing or being hurt?
If I'm one of the other guys, if I'm 6'5", 230, and 27 years old, 250, I'm getting in the ring. Who do I think
Okay.
I can't beat? Is it I can't beat Fury or I can't beat Wilder?
Okay. Wilder, you would fear Wilder more just because he's got that right hand. I mean, Fury beat you up over 9 or 10 rounds and bloody you, and like he did to Derek Chisora, he just beat him up, and Chisora just got frustrated. Never knocked him down, really never staggered him. He just peppered him and pounded him and did all that, and the fight's over. Wilder, as much as he makes mistakes or whatever he does, his own unorthodox style, to say that, he's got that dynamite. And that's like you say guys that were scary, Frank. See, I always think the most recent history is Tyson, because before he fought Douglas, he was scaring guys, before he even got in the ring. I mean, there's a time where fighters were really intimidated by him, and he just look at him in a stare down. And I remember thinking, holy moly, I wouldn't want that guy looking at me like that. And then he was so quick and he was so powerful that I would think that you would have to push that out of your mind. If you ever watch him fight Pinklin Thomas, I mean, that was a good fight, but boy, he pounded Pinklin Thomas. He brutalized them. And Wilder might put you out of your misery quicker, though, because he'd knock you out with one punch. So that's kind of good. But if I was fighting either of them, I would be more concerned. If I'm thinking about, boy, I'm going to come out of this with some issues, it would be Wilder because of that right hand. He's the power man, and like most power punchers, he's more limited than Fury. But what we said, Fury's going to weigh about 300 pounds. He's saying now going into this fight, so that's going to give him something more bulk, maybe more power. I don't know, but definitely to me, Wilder has proven that he can knock out guys so quickly that it's pretty. Even though these guys are limited, blah blah blah, say whatever you want to say, he still had to do it, and he did it. So he's dangerous.
How would you weigh in on that?
No, I would agree. I think Wilder's the more dangerous fighter because of the factor that he's a quick hitter. It's like boom, boom. So if you go to sleep one time, so he can just get you. Even if to the point the Ortiz fights, right, are perfect examples. He was taking punishment, and then all of a sudden it's like, okay, I'm coming for you. Boom, I got you. And it's like, wow, how the hell did you pull that off when we thought you were losing partially maybe the first 5 rounds? You come back with that dynamite, as John mentioned. But the whole point coming back to the Fury issue is Fury, again, has found a way to try to take that power away from Wilder. And that's to smother him. If I'm up on you and I'm pushing you around, I'm leaning on you, and then you go back, I go, boop, boop. I'm going to take that with you, and I start to wear you down. I start hitting you in your body. The key is to eliminate the power as much as you can, where it's a little more like a soft pillow. And he's found a way to do that. But you look at overall, the power, the strength, the quickness, the speed, and the little brutal type of attitude that Wilder has, he has to be the more dangerous fighter immediately, right? We think about that too. Now, when you say about winning and stuff like that too, you might, Fury's crafty, he probably get it done. He doesn't feel like he has to knock you out. Wilder wants to punish you. He wants to put you to sleep. He wants everybody to know, I'm the baddest mother on the planet. You saw it. What else needs to be said? That's his MO. And I think what's frustrating him is the fact that he almost did it to Fury. Then Fury came back and like,
right.
I told you, you thought you were that tough. I survived. And once I survived, he was no longer afraid of him. And he says, all right, I got you. I'm not scared of you anymore. I know you can hit me. I know you can knock me the hell out, but I'm not scared of you anymore. I took your best shot. All I got to do is get bigger, stronger than you, and lean on you, take away your power. I got you.
It almost seems like we're at, and this is a story for the ages, that we'll start with the gentleman, Jim Corbett, John Sullivan. I think we've mentioned that once or twice before here. It's like, I'm the baddest man, that I can lick any man in the bar, not a problem at all. And you're like, yeah, if we're fighting by these rules. But by these rules, if I'm going to outscore you, and I'm going to do more of this ring generalmanship and all that stuff, I can win the fight. And again, we go to the Mike Tyson, it was a perfect example. When Mike Tyson was in his prime, I was 6'2", 230 pounds, or something like that. And someone says, would you fight Mike Tyson for $1 million? I was like, sure. Now, no one had $1 million and I wouldn't have actually done it, but I would have fought Bone Crusher Smith. I wasn't afraid of Bone Crusher Smith killing me. He would have beat me and I wouldn't have won the fight, but I would have collected the check. Same size, not a problem at all. But Mike Tyson was like, I don't care who you are, what you're doing. As Charles said, my goal here is to demonstrate to you and everybody that's paying attention that I'm the baddest man to lace up the gloves. And that means my job is to punish you. So is that the mindset Deontay Wilder's still going to have going into this fight? Or is he going to go in and look at it and say, you know what? I'm going to win rounds. I'm going to rack up some rounds. Or, okay, then he loses unless he sneaks in that punch. So what we're saying is if Fury fights a close to perfect fight for him, Wilder doesn't get off the big shot and he doesn't have a chance. Is that basically it?
I'll just jump in here. I think what him and Malik Scott and Deontay Wilder are doing is they're tweaking what he does. They're not thinking they're going to win rounds. I mean, even in the first fight, as we know, he was behind on the cards. He lost probably 8 rounds easy in the first fight. So he's not going to beat Fury no matter what he does by decision. He's got to hurt him. So I think what Malik is doing is he's giving him options or giving him a little bit more of a chance because, he might have hit him a half a dozen times in the second fight, but it didn't do anything to Fury. Fury's saying that it's because he weighed more and all that. Maybe a little, but he didn't catch him solidly like he did in the first fight. So maybe Malik Scott is saying, okay, look, we watched the film, we didn't like it. Maybe if we can maneuver him around a little bit, and then you can let that right hand from Alabama go, and it hits him. It hits him here, wherever it hits him on the temple, like Joshua. And he wobbles. See, that's what they're thinking too. That's what I would be thinking. Look, if we can just hurt him, we can win. We'll knock him out this time. But then what you said, Frank, if. That's the big if. And what did Dirty Harry say? A man has to know his limitations. Is that Dirty Harry or is that another Clint Eastwood?
That's Dirty Harry, yeah.
Yeah, so I think they know what their limitations are, what Deontay Wilder's limitations. He's not going to be able to outbox Tyson Fury. I mean, he's been outboxed by guys who are 3 levels below Tyson Fury. Mm-hmm. Gerald Washington, nothing against Gerald, who's a great guy. Gerald Washington won 4 straight rounds against Deontay Wilder and by outboxing him. And then I remember I talked to him in the ring. I go, well, you're doing so good. What happened? He goes, you know what happened, John? I go, no, I want to know. Tell me. He goes, he did exactly what Charles said. He goes, I lost focus for just about a second. And bam. Hit me with that effing right hand. And that was it. Done. So that's what I would think. If I'm them, I'm trying to be real here, and I'm trying to think. Look, we can't outbox this guy. We got to figure out a way. He comes barreling at us with all that weight. We got to get his respect, and then we got to maintain distance, like Charles was saying. You can't let him smother you. Push him off. Wow. Push 300 pounds. You're going to get heavy. You're going to get tired. Not too often, but say something to the referee. Do something. Get him away, and then just keep pushing forward. Don't be backing up like he was doing in the second fight. Don't back up and then throw the right. Fury knows. So he's going to have to, like I said, the odds are long, but it It's possible. I've seen other things in boxing and in sports happen. So I just like the fact that in my mind, at least, my theory is that they're giving him more of a chance to win this time than maybe the second time with everything that happened going. That was a travesty for Wilder.
Well, Charles, it seems to me, and I'm going to cross promote sports here. It seems to me it's like it's the left-handed batter comes up playing baseball, and they shift everybody over the right side of the infield, and there's just the third baseman playing shortstop, and there's nobody down the third base line. And what does the guy come up and do? He hits a line drive to whoever's on the other side of the field, and he gets him out, as opposed to laying down the bunt, taking your base, and moving on, or hitting the opposite field or whatever. Is that what we're looking at Deontay Wilder? We're going to present you with obstacles to keep you from throwing the bomb, yet you're going to throw the bomb anyway. Is that basically what we're looking at?
I mean, you can say that, but I think part of it would be that instead, we know you're going to throw the bomb anyway, but now we're going to add a little bit of mobility, right? So if you just standing in the pocket past the quarterback, you just slinging it. But okay, maybe we take 2 steps to the right, 2 steps to the left, what opens the door where I'm still throwing the bomb, but I'm hitting the guy because now that movement has allowed me to pinpoint the ball in a different place. Same way with the punches that Wilder's going to be throwing. So it's not like, oh, I'm going to come out and start boxing, looking all great and looking like Sugar Ray Leonard. But instead of being right here, I might make a move up under. Boom, I'm here. I would never done that before. Okay. Now it's just I'm here and I'm swinging from the field, swing. But now instead of a movement here, there, up under, even similar to what Tyson did. Not so much up and under, but enough movement inside where you get your hand free and you can land a solid shot. Those small increments of those movements, changing it and then even shifting his body where you can get open shots on Wilder, on Fury is what he needs to do. He's never going to be the boxer that everybody wants him to be. Let's be real about this. But you can make, in boxing, you can make sudden moves or do certain things. You can attack the body, hit Fury in different places, and just be a little bit more different than he was before. Small movements, I think that's what they're working on. So this jab and all of this type of style is not going to get him past Fury because Fury's expecting to implement his style, right? What he said. But if Wilder just can move side to side or back up, in and out, somewhere he can provide himself with more room to unleash his power, I think the fight becomes more intriguing.
Okay. And so in a nutshell, it's be able to throw punches but Fury doesn't see coming, or from different angles so he doesn't see coming. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah. All right. Now okay. All right. So John, go ahead. You look like you wanted to say something.
Oh, that's exactly right. And that's not really Wilder though. See, so for him to do anything different is going to be impressive, and he's going to be facing the guy who's going to be thinking, oh yeah, I know exactly what you're doing. Again, we've been referencing Rocky, right? Rocky comes out orthodox into Apollo's trainer. I love the line Stallone came up with. Great. Apollo's trainer says, did any of the switching confuse you? He goes, not at all. He goes, well, then you should have knocked him out. I love that. So if I'm Wilder too, I'm thinking one other thing, guys. I'm thinking that, okay, he pushed me around in the second fight a lot. So I'm going to try to establish that he's not going to do it. He's going to do it still because he outweighs him by 50 pounds. But I'm going to stand my ground more. In other words, I'm going to move to the left and the right, like you said, but I'm not going to be backing up all the time. That's where Fury started beating him up in the second fight. I'm going to stand there and wing with him, and then move to the side and do a few other things, right. And look to counter. Can he do it? And then, and the last thing I've been thinking is start fast, Deontay. Don't wait. Get on his butt right away. See what happens. You get stung or whatever, okay, but you might catch him.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, well, I can't wait for it to happen. And as John said, we need to really take a look at this this COVID reaction and see if that's something that's really going to mess things up. Because, let's ask this question. We got a few minutes left, Charles. If it gets postponed to September, who does that help?
I say Wilder, because
Okay.
that the more time he has to implement or whatever he's gonna do to perfect what he's doing, there's just more time. I said real quick, I thought this fight was kind of rushed, and I said that because of the fact that we
You're
didn't.
right.
He's probably
Yep.
training. We didn't know it. What we going off of? We only see the little videos. Maybe been training the whole time, but I think the more time that he has to prepare, the better off he'll be.
Okay. Now, John, you mentioned something about, earlier about who's going to be where and all that. And he said, where's Terrence Crawford? Well, here's what I've heard. That Terrence Crawford will be fighting on The View on a Thursday afternoon. It's the point where where did this go? How did this get so far? Now, is this a Top Rank thing? Is this a problem? Now, I know we've been railing on Top Rank, and I don't mean to do that. Sorry about that, because I actually want to talk to some people from Top Rank. But is this something where we've just lost a guy? Has he slipped through the cracks and maybe not be able to slip back? Again, people are still calling him pound for pound one of the top 10 or higher pound for pound fighters in the world, yet we're not going to see him for reasons other than I don't know what. And we're saying, or we're being led to believe he's one of the top fighters in the world, but he's not even being regarded as one of the top fighters in his division. And I just wanted to throw that out there, run that for a minute or so, and then we'll get out of here.
It's a weird thing. I blame Top Rank. I do, because when Bob Arum, and I say this all the time, sorry, Bob Arum insulted Terrence Crawford like nobody, a promoter has ever insulted a fighter before. He can't do anything. I've lost money on the guy. It's like, what is that? Even if there's some truth to it, and he had all his fights in Nebraska. Okay, fine, whatever. But that's disloyal to me. And I would want a promoter who's going to be loyal. I just hate that. And I heard a rumor that Crawford might consider going back down to 140 and fighting Josh Taylor.
Ooh.
Yeah, just because he wants to fight.
Oh my God.
Yeah, he wants to fight. Now, it's just a rumor. Like I said, just a rumor. But that's a great rumor. I mean, that would be tremendous. Can he get back down to 140? Well, I bet he could. He's older now, but I bet he could. But you know what, too? I would bet you, and I don't gamble, but I would still bet $1 on this, that Crawford's sitting there in his house thinking, damn it, we had an agreement at like 55-45. I should have taken it.
Yep.
Because if I had beat Spence, I would be fighting Pacquiao right now, making $25 million, instead of sitting here in my living room contemplating going down to 140 and fighting this tough dude who's undefeated. So it's tragic, because Crawford is a great guy. He came up from nothing, started with nothing, and he's a champion, a full-fledged champion. Great. I'd say he's a great fighter. I would. Well, pretty close to a great fighter. I don't like to throw that around too much. Somebody's got to figure something out with him. His contract with the Zone's with Top Rank's ending soon. If I'm him, I sign with the Zone so fast it makes Bob Arum go, wow, that was fast. Bob Arum probably say, good riddance. That's what I do.
Well, I don't know if we will or not. That's the odd thing. Is he being genuine when he says what he says about Crawford costing money, or is he just trying? Is that a psychological ploy? I don't know. Charles, it's not working. Now we're at that lull setting up the fall of what's going to happen. We've got Fury Wilder, we've got Spence Pacquiao, and we've got a few other things that are kind of yeah. Well, what are we looking at here, or what are you looking at to kick off we're almost through the summer. What do we need to see coming up in the next few months? Or at least deals made or things put together or how things shake out? Just an overall sense of how things look, the state of boxing right now.
Well, I think the one thing that's going to be right back where we need to be is going to keep it rolling is Definitely Pacquiao versus Spence, right? Two, I know that John mentioned that Crawford could drop down to 140. He gonna drop down to 140 to fight to Josh Taylor. Then you're talking about going to 154 there too. Cut the BS. 147. Let's go with Sean Porter, man. Come on. That's he does not. I'm saying to you, you want excitement, you want to fight. That's going to give him some leverage, but it's not going to happen. The other thing too is Devin Haney against anybody that really is legit. Okay, at 140. I don't care who it is. Do what you gotta do. I would love to see him versus Lopez, right? Something like that too. And two, Gary Russell Jr. against anybody. Gary Russell, come out the closet, bro. And I don't mean that in the sense I mean. Come out sleeping in the closet. Come out and fight some damn body. I want to see that. One other fight I'd say real quick is Gervonta Davis, right? Gervonta Davis versus Lopez. I know that's probably about 3 years down the line, but I would love to see that. And last but not least, Shakur Stevenson, anybody at 135. It's time. It's time. You kind of moving up to 130 a little bit, do a little bit of that, but it's time to get that taste, man. I know we've been trying to hold him back, but it's time to get into the mix at 135. Not 140, 135, slowly but surely. Let's ring the bell, bro, because they're looking for him, and I think it's time.
Here's what I think, and I'm going to defer to John here in a second, but I think that it's time for a all Gary Russell card, and I'm not being facetious about that. We've got 3 Gary Russells that can actually fight.
Whole family.
The whole family, and not fighting against each other, but get them out there. And because I was intrigued when it was Charlo, that I thought was pretty cool. I'd have loved to see Pacquiao and Bobby Pacquiao. That would have been pretty cool as well. But let's set a fight for all 3 Gary Russells. If there might be 5 of them, I don't know. But the 3 that I know of, get them out there. At least we can get Gary Russell Jr. out there, but the other ones as well. Maybe they'll get us some. Because I think they all are pointing towards something, but we don't know what it is. Now, Antoine, the one we just saw, looks like he's going to try and stay busier, but the other 2, we're seeing them when we see them, when we don't see them. That may be a good promotion. I don't know. John, how do you close the show here?
On a very serious note, I think you put the Gary Russells against all George Foreman's sons. He names them all George. So you got George Foreman the first, George Foreman the second, Gary Antonio Russell, Gary. I don't know. Gary Russell's always going to be a mystery, and I agree. I wish he fought more. But you know what? We might wish all we want, but everything I've ever read about the guy, and I get this feeling, he's very content with what he's doing. He frustrates us because he fights once a year. He's like a movie star. He makes 1 movie a year, and then he disappears. He works with his brothers. If that's what he wants,
that's cool.
He could fight Lomachenko. He wanted to fight Lomachenko again. We would love to see that, but see, it never happens. So I don't know. He's a different dude. He goes to he's got a different drum that he goes to, a beat that he goes to, different drummer. So he's Gary Russell. He's a unique guy, and he seems to really be enjoying working with his brother, as you saw, Frank. I mean, he seems to be almost enjoying that more than his own career. Right. So there might be something here where this is a guy that really doesn't have the passion. I hate speculating like this. Well, no, I don't. But we all know boxing's about passion, and who knows, but. We can moan and groan about Gary all we want, and all the Garys and Anton, but Gary Russell seems to be very happy with what he's doing in himself, and really that's all that matters.
How about the younger Russells against the Maloneys? Does that match up right?
There you go.
Something like that. There's anything that can happen. All right. Well, here's where we stand at this particular point in time. Great show again for the 9 of you who watched it. Thank you. People are starting to find what we do, and we
let's hit 10.
All y'all to tell everybody else. Yeah, double woo. But we need people to find what we're doing, because we need more input from everybody else to tell us what you like and what you don't like. So again, we've got real boxing talk. We're going to keep it real. We're going to talk about boxing. We're going to ignore the show notes once again. Thank you guys and enjoy the weekend.